Welcome back, everyone. Great day so far on our conference, and we have more great presenters coming up, like this one, Kodiak Copper Corp. It trades on the OTCQB under the symbol KDKCF and on the TSXV under the symbol KDK, and is focused on its 100% owned copper porphyry projects in Canada and the U.S. The company's most advanced asset is the MPD copper gold porphyry project in the prolific Quesnel Trough in south central British Columbia, Canada. MPD has all the hallmarks of a large, multi-centered porphyry system, and Kodiak has made the gate zone discovery of high-grade mineralization within a wide mineralized envelope. And MPD hosts several other targets with similar discovery potential. Pleased to present the CEO, Claudia Tornquist. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everybody, for calling in. It's a pleasure to be here. Kodiak is about copper exploration, copper for a greener future. And as Anna mentioned, our main project is MPD in southern British Columbia, where we made a discovery now about 2 years ago that was a real game changer for the company. Kodiak was founded by our chairman, Chris Taylor, whom many of you will probably know from our sister company, Great Bear. He is a very big part of our success. And we have just started a big drill program this year with many interesting targets and lots of discovery potential. And I will tell you more about it in this presentation. Please keep in mind that I will be making forward-looking statements, and you can find the relevant guidance on our website. First off, why are we in copper? Copper very much is will be driven by the Green Revolution over the next years and decades. The energy transition really is a global mega trend. There are now, I think, 80% of the world on a net zero carbon target of some sort. And all these technologies that are required to achieve these carbon targets are very copper intensive, whether that's electric vehicles, whether that's solar, whether that's wind, all requires a lot of copper and a lot more copper than the technologies that they replace. So no question, there will be, even with conservative forecasts, a lot of demand for copper and other battery metals from the Green Revolution. Now, if you look on the other side of the medal, the copper supply, the picture there looks very, very different. On the left here is a forecast from Goldman Sachs, which shows a supply-demand gap of 8 million tons, and that's in a total market of just over 30 million. That's a big demand-supply gap that they forecast. Many other forecasters have similar views, whether it's 9 million tons, 5 million tons. There's pretty much a consensus that there will be a deficit over the next 5 to 10 years. And the reason is simply that there aren't many discoveries in the pipeline. In fact, the discovery pipeline is at an all-time low. And the picture here on the left illustrates that very clearly. This graph shows copper discoveries per year. And in the last 10 years, there just have not been big discoveries. And since it takes 10 to 20 years to bring on a big copper mine, we just simply know that in the next 10 years, there will not be a big new mine built. So strong demand, very little supply. This bodes well. And of course, more copper will have to be found. And that's exactly what Kodiak's business is. Couple of words about the people behind the company, obviously very important. I mentioned already Chris Taylor, who is the founder and chairman of Kodiak. He also very much is the technical lead. He's just off the big success with our sister company, Great Bear, which I'm sure many of you know, $2 billion generated for shareholders when he sold this company last year. And Chris is a geologist and very much of an out-of-the-box thinker. And what he did at Great Bear, essentially taking a project that lots of people had looked at and couldn't really figure out and didn't really see much in it, and then took a new approach and made it a big success. So Kodiak is a little bit of a similar story. Our project, MPD, has also been explored by many others in the past who couldn't figure it out. And Chris had a new idea, and that led to our discovery in our maiden drill program. So Chris and his ingenuity and creativity as a geologist is very, very integral to our success. Myself, my background is more the business side of things. I've been in resources now for over 20 years, and for almost 10 of those with Rio Tinto, doing things like M&A, business development, business evaluation, so more financial, commercial type roles. And Chris and I are very complementary in that respect and work really well together. Last but not least, John Robbins at the bottom here, also important part of our success. He's an advisor and shareholder. Many of you will know his name. He's a mining entrepreneur with many successes to his name. And John has put together the Discovery Group, of which we are part. Discovery is a loose alliance of independent public companies, one of which is Kodiak, all focused on exploration. And it's a fantastic group to be part of because it gives us unparalleled access to expertise, contacts, capital. And it's just a fantastic and credible group that's been around for a long time with billions of exits over the years. And from a shareholder perspective, it also gives people some confidence that group companies such as ourselves are well-run companies with projects of merit, because Discovery has been around for many years and has a very good reputation, and not all companies get invited to the group. So I feel very fortunate to be part of a strong group, and I really believe it makes Kodiak a stronger and more resilient company. So that was a bit of a corporate overview and people. And I will now speak more about our MPD copper porphyry project, where we made a discovery. And to start, I have a video that gives an overview of MPD.
Kodiak Copper is located in British Columbia's prolific copper belt known as the Quesnel Trough, which runs through the south of the province. Kodiak has caught the market's attention with a new copper-gold discovery at its MPD project.
MPD is very accessible. It's a 3-hour drive from Vancouver, near the towns of Merritt and Princeton. Infrastructure and accessibility is obviously very important for economic potential and future development. What's great about the MPD project is its location. We are here in southern BC, where you can work year-round, and in a very established mining area. There are a number of large mines nearby, for example, Copper Mountain, or also Highland Valley, New Afton. So it's a very established mining area, and everything you need for an exploration project is right at our fingertips, which makes our work very cost-effective.
One of the things I noticed when we were reviewing the MPD project initially was the presence of copper oxides over many kilometers on surface. So what it indicated was that we were sitting on top of a major porphyry system, and certainly the right type of rocks that indicated that there could be a major discovery to be made. This project has the potential to host a major copper porphyry discovery. And of course, with the drilling that we've done recently, we've shown that that's the case. Now, on initial review of this project, what was really impressive is that we had over 100 drill holes over 10 kilometers, and all of these holes have copper in them. And when we're looking at the rock, we saw the right types of rocks and the right types of features that indicated we could be sitting on top of a major copper system.
The MPD project was drilled historically since the 60s, so for over 50 years. And most of this historic drilling was very shallow, almost all only down to between 100 and 200 meters. And that is where we saw the opportunity. So we drilled deeper. We drilled down to over 800 meters. And that's where we got our first discovery hole right here at this location. It was a hole that was mineralized top to bottom and had in the middle a very nice high-grade zone. That was the first time that we saw that in this large porphyry system there are higher grade zones present.
This is some of the best looking drill core that has been drilled in this part of British Columbia. Now we're located here, we're in Merritt, and that means that in all the areas around us we have copper mines in both directions. What you typically see in this region is about 1/3 of the grade. The grade that we've drilled here on the copper and the gold side is 3 or 4 times higher than many of the mines in this area. The types of alteration that we see, the potassic feldspar alteration, the silicification, the presence of chalcopyrite, the presence of bornite, these are all indicative features of a strongly mineralized copper center.
We've made a great start and had some fantastic high-grade results early on in our drill program. We have now gained Teck Resources as a major shareholder. So now we have our work cut out. We have a large 10 square kilometer area of historic drilling and have only poked deeper holes into one small corner of it. That means lots more drilling to come and lots more potential for our shareholders to be unlocked. It'll be an exciting time for Kodiak going forward.
Here's a map that shows where MPD is located. We are in an established mining district between two large copper mines. We have Highland Valley, Teck's big mine to our north, and Copper Mountain, which is also a large copper mine, about 20 or so kilometers to our south. Very much of a mining district. There are lots of other smaller mines, historic mines, exploration projects. And that's, of course, a big advantage because everything you need for exploration is right at our fingertips. And the project is also very accessible. You drive there in 3 hours from Vancouver, from our headquarters, and literally turn off the highway, a couple of minutes on a logging road, and you're there. And I can't highlight enough what a big advantage that is. It makes for very low-cost exploration, and also looking into the future, it will be a very big difference maker when it comes to build and operate an economic mine. And the threshold to make this project economic is just so much lower than it would be in a more remote location. As I mentioned in the video, the project MPD is not at all green fields. It has been explored for decades. In total, there have been 50,000 meters of drilling, 400 holes across the property, so lots of historic drilling. And you might ask, why has never anyone made it work? And there are two key points that I would like to highlight. Firstly, nobody ever had the consolidated land package. All of the previous exploration was very much a patchwork with different companies on small land packages, exploring at various different points in time. And particularly for a porphyry project, which is all about size, that simply meant nobody really was ever in a position to fully explore it. And we were, for the first time, when we were able to acquire a consolidated package, in that place where we could put in place a comprehensive exploration strategy. And then secondly, there was one thing we did differently from everybody before us. And that's really where Chris Taylor, our chairman's sort of creativity, came in. We drilled deeper. All of this historic drilling was shallow, near surface. Our interpretation was that that wasn't deep enough to reach the higher grade zones. So we drilled deeper, down to 700-800 meters, and it worked right away. We made a discovery in our maiden drill program and encountered much higher grades than had ever been drilled before on the property. This is our discovery hole. That is now about 2.5 years ago, and that was a complete game changer for the company. When we announced this hole, it's a nice, long, high-grade hole, we saw a big rally in our share price from 50 cents to over $3 and raised at the time $12.5 million. Tech Resources, big major resource company, came in with an investment of $8 million. That again was received really well by the market. And that really set us in motion and gave us the momentum to move forward with big drill programs. And just for the record, what did we drill? At the time, the intercept was 535 meters of 0.76% copper equivalent. And within that long high-grade intercept, there were zones of significantly higher grade mineralization. And just to put that into perspective, that's about 2-3 times the grades that are mined at the neighboring copper mines. That's why this result generated a lot of excitement. So we were fortunate, and right at the start in our maiden drill program, drilled into a nice high-grade porphyry center at the gate zone. Since then, the last 2 years, we've executed big drill programs and have drilled in total 48,000 meters. And these two maps here show the before and after. On the left, that was the gate zone just after we made the initial discovery. This red dotted corridor is approximately the area over which we have intercepted high-grade mineralization. Fast forward, this is where we are now. We have drilled high-grade mineralization approximately over a length of 1 kilometer, across a width of 350 meters, and down to about 900 meters. So we're very successful in extending the gate zone, and are certainly very pleased with the size it is showing, and are pleased with the progress to date. Now, what is very, very important to keep in mind is that the gate zone is only one of multiple targets on the property. That's the one where we started. But what we have at MPD is a multi-center porphyry system, and there are multiple other historically drilled targets, very much analog to the gate zone, which we will now test going forward. This slide shows one of those targets that is on the list for this year, just to give you a flavor of the type of targets we have here and the potential of these targets. So this is not at all a greenfields target. It has a lot of historic exploration and a lot of information already, and so a very good probability to drill successfully and find the right stuff. Here on the left, you see a map where we are on the property. The left top is the gate zone, and the target here, the man zone, is approximately 2 kilometers to the south. And it has very similar characteristics to the gate zone. It has copper at surface and gold, so big surface anomaly. It has historic drilling, all shallow, that had good copper-gold intercepts, also some historic trenching. And we did some geophysical surveys over it. And on the right here, you see the geophysical anomaly that underlies this target. You see the shallow historic drill holes going in here. And then underneath this yellow-red area that's outlined here is a big geophysical anomaly, very, very similar to what we see at the gate zone when we made our first discovery. And this anomaly we will be testing this year with deeper drilling below the shallow historic drilling. So very exciting target. and high on the priority list for this year. We have multiple other targets. I have a bigger map here of the entire property, where you see at the top left the gate zone and man that I just talked about in the vicinity. And all these dots here are other targets. The red ones are historically drilled, and we will be testing 4 or 5 of those this year. We have started drilling in the southern part of the property and have on our priority list for drilling this year the west target, south target, 15-16 target. And as I said, the man target in the northern part is also on the priority list. So we will be testing 4 or 5 targets this year, essentially taking the approach that led to the gate zone discovery and replicating it at these targets. So it's a very, very exciting year, because the aim of this year's work is to repeat what we did at Gate and discover 1 or more high-grade zones on the property. We know we have a multi-center system. We have multiple intrusions on the property. These things come in clusters, and we will now this year test several of these targets and aim to discover more high-grade centers, which would be a very big step forward for the project, because it will prove our thesis that this is a large underlying system. So that's in a nutshell what's on the cards this year. Lots of discovery potential. Last but not least, our capital structure. We have a small number of shares outstanding, tightly held company, 63 million shares outstanding at the moment. Our cash position is 12 million. So full treasury, we're funded for all of the work we have planned this year, which is, of course, a fantastic place to be. Our largest shareholder, as I pointed out, is Tech Resources with 9.9% of the shares. And we have one independent analyst covering us, that's Cormark. Their target price currently is $3, I believe, so quite a bit higher than what we currently trade at. And you see at the bottom our share price here at the left. That's when we made the original discovery at the gate zone. We saw a lot of excitement in the market when we announced that discovery. This is the year where we'll be shooting for 1 or several more discoveries and shooting for the next spike in our share price. And it will certainly be a very exciting year, and I'm looking very much forward to reporting back with drill results soon from our drill program that's ongoing. And with that, I'm finished with the presentation and would be very happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great job, Claudia. Yes, we've got lots of questions for you. Let's start. You mentioned Tech Resources as a 9.9% shareholder. So how active or involved are they with Kodiak?
Yes, Tech is our largest shareholder. They came in right after the first discovery and have participated in every financing since. So a very supportive shareholder. They're a fantastic group to have in the boat. Firstly, of course, the reason they're in is that they have confidence, like we do, that this project has real size potential. They are a major resource company and they are not interested in small projects. So that gives a lot of investors a lot of confidence. And they are certainly involved. They are in the area. Their Highland Valley mine is only 30 miles or so to our north. And so we see them on site several times per year, and they have been incredibly helpful and supportive in a number of ways. So really good partner to have in the boat.
Fantastic. Claudia, you outlined a lot of targets to test. So how confident are you that you will discover more high-grade zones?
As I said, these porphyry centers, they come in clusters. a porphyry is essentially a deep intrusion from very deep down in the mantle, where then individual intrusions, just like fingers, come up to the surface. So that's why you then have several intrusions that occur in clusters. The neighboring mine, Copper Mountain, is very, very similar in that respect. And we know we have several intrusions on the property because they have been historically drilled. And with the first intrusion at Gate, we proved that there are higher grades deeper down. And so now we will take the same model to all these other previously drilled intrusions and test them deeper with the aim to find the high-grade source of the lower-grade material that we already have drill proven from the historic exploration. So very high confidence targets, and we're testing several of them. So that's why I'm saying it will be an exciting year, and also very much of a pivotal year for the company, because success on one or several of these targets will really take the project to the next stage, because it will add real size and scale to what we have until now at Gate.
Sounds like it. Daryl Greer asks, how far along are you on the private placement you announced in April?
We closed that placement and we upsized it and then oversubscribed it and raised in total $8.5 million. And that means now we are fully funded for the year.
Wonderful. Michelle wants you to clarify that you're currently solely exploration, and can you discuss any studies regarding your in-ground assets?
That's a good question, and it's a strategic question for Kodiak. One choice we have now is to start working on a resource at the Gate zone and go down the route towards resource, PEA studies, etc. Or the other strategic option is to go for size and essentially test other targets on the property. And that choice, that strategy, is where we think we can add most value for our shareholders. We have acquired MPD because we thought it has real size potential and the potential to a big project that's attractive to a major player. And that's also why Tech Resources invested, because they see this size potential. And that's why for now we are drilling further targets with the aim to really demonstrate the scale of this project before we then focus in on defining a resource. So for now, for this year, it's all about exploration and discovery, which is very exciting for investors.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. A question from Jim Barton. With the shortage coming in copper, do you see a shortage in workers? And what will that do to production costs?
Well, we are fortunate in that we are in a mining district where workforce and all the services, everything you need really for exploration is readily available. We have had no problems so far hiring people or finding drill rigs or anything like that. And I think location is really a big advantage there.
And David says, in Canadian dollars, your cash has dropped about $3 million for the quarter ending 12/31/22. So is that your current burn rate? And with your current capital structure, how long can you sustain that before you have to go to the markets for funds?
Well, our biggest expense by a wide margin are our exploration and drill costs. And if you look at our financials, you will see that in the past years, we spent about 8 to 10 million per year on exploration. And this year we have a similar program planned. So with the funds we have just raised and with our $12 million cash balance, we are fully funded for all of this year. And that's really a good place to be.
Yes, it is. Della Wong says, coming from Rio is very impressive. Is there any JV that can be facilitated to help reduce capital risk?
Well, we certainly have generated a lot of interest with majors. We had many of them knock on our doors since we made the initial discovery. And in the longer term, I am sure there will be more discussions. A porphyry project, if you look around the world, I don't think is a single one that was built and is operated by the junior who originally discovered it. So porphyries really are a big project. That's why we like them, and they are a major company's game. So with further exploration success, I'm pretty sure that this project will at some stage become interesting for major companies. And so, yeah, that's a likely scenario in the longer term. And until then, we will generate value through exploration and through further drilling for our shareholders.
Tom Powell says you're at 800 meters. So at what point does depth become an issue?
Well, if you look at porphyries, they reach down to much greater depths. There's a comparable company, GT Gold, also a junior with a porphyry discovery, who was acquired for just under $500 million. When was that? 2 years ago, approximately. And if you look at their drilling, they drill down to almost 1.5 kilometers, and porphyries can go down deeper. So there's certainly a lot more potential at depth. And for a company such as ourselves, it's always a trade-off of how deep to go, because the deeper you go, the more expensive and the slower the drilling gets. And you just have to find the sweet spot. And we think the depth of sort of 700-800 meters, that's where we get a good sort of return or good trade-off. And that's what we are approximately aiming for at this stage. But yeah, there is certainly more potential at depth. And at one stage, we will be drilling deeper, likely.
Great. And a follow-up for that, Adrian Cantwell wants you to explain, how deep will the test holes need to be?
As I said, many porphyries get drilled down to well beyond 1,000 meters or 1,500 meters. And at some point in the future, there will certainly some deeper holes be drilled on the property. But for now, we are aiming on average for a depth of between 700 and 800 meters with our drill holes.
And last question due to time from Gino, how far out do you expect to be posting any results?
We will have the first or the next batch of results coming up relatively soon, in the next couple of weeks, and then more results coming throughout the summer and then the rest of the year.
Wonderful. Claudia, do you have any closing remarks for our audience today?
Well, it's been a pleasure to be here. We are certainly in a very interesting phase of our work as we are aiming to replicate our discovery success from the gate zone at our other targets. I'm very excited for this year and looking forward to come back to our shareholders with more discovery success.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on everything, and thank you so much for your time and presentation today. We'd love to see you again in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone stay with us. We'll be right back with our next presenter.